Kia ora. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this presentation is taking place and on the land of Wurundjeri, also known as Parkville in Melbourne, Australia, and I pay my respect to the elders and families. The title of my paper is Measuring Intensity and Frequency of Human Activities. To begin, the origin of urban density measurements were never documented, and the only source of reference is the calculation of mass per unit volume by Archimedes. As analyzed by Cheng 2009, these measurements are objective, quantitative, and a neutral spatial indicator of the numbers of people per area, but become imprecise at different contexts and scale. As an example, population density measures the number of building residents per hectare based on census data. These measurements are non-volumetric, do not reflect the actual fluctuation of population, and exclude non-residential buildings into the calculation of an urban area at macro scale. At micro scale, occupancy changes of building residents and the real uncertainty of people concentration at different times and places are not included. Therefore, at macro level, according to Derby and Pafka 2016, Pond 2010, these measurements are general and can only be a perceptual and conceptual indicators. The author also critiqued that the measurements are static. Within a broader measurement of density lies the intricacies of ever-changing concentration of people to certain activities at different places or intensity. Intensity accurately described by Derby and Simmons 2013 for Jacobs' 1961 observation on the relationship between human concentrations in their neighborhoods with the overall density. To prescribe this as one of the principles that contribute to increasing the social capital of the area. Following that, a wealth of qualitative studies follow with very few development in quantitative studies. The measurement proposed by Prokedu 2015, Rowe and Khan 2014, Skev-Suk 2013 for intensity remains at macro level that measures the surrounding environments, either built forms, topology, connection, links, and etc., but not the concentration of people or human activities at micro scale. Therefore, the purpose of this paper is to improve upon the precision of density measurements for urban environment. The aim is to explore the possibility of providing another form of quantitative indicator to the existing broad density calculation, and the objective is to introduce two novel equations to measure human activities, followed by an explication of procedures to implement the measuring process and test the results using visual pattern and statistical analysis before reporting on the final result. These equations are tested in a human settlement to measure the activities along the laneways and advance the study of Jacobs' public-private interfaces. The principles behind the proposed measurements are based on population density and spatial temporal point process mathematics. The common denominator is the human activities are a manifestation of people occupying space for some time or temporal occupied spaces. Therefore, the measurement of human activities calculates the number of people that conducts the activity on the TOS area at different time. A state is defined as a particular condition denoted by humans on space at a specific period in time. Private is defined as belonging to and for the use of only one particular person or more. The key is to measure at human scale micro level. The characteristics of TOS may vary based on different behavior of people in different places. This paper introduces two novel equations to measure human activities in an urban environment, intensity and frequency. Intensity measures the number of people occupying an area for more extended time activities. The equation of intensity is number of people on TOS divided by TOS area at every time interval. Frequency measures the shorter activities that do not occupy an area. The equation of frequency is number of people not on TOS divided by TOS area and multiplied by time interval. This section is about selection of case study. Actually, the case study can be anywhere, but Toda was selected due to the observable human activities that changes the state of public laneways to private temporarily, which aligned to Jacobs' public-private interfaces study. The second reason was observable changing built forms that indicates a thriving domestic economy from the increment of social capital in the area. These built forms can only evolve when the financial standing of each dweller has improved to fund the construction of these new extensions. Extensions of built forms from an existing ruins and abandoned old buildings, as indicated here, suggest that the settlement is evolving. As an overview, Toda is a self-formed organic settlement in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. 15 focal zones were documented during fieldwork, but 2 zones with opposing characteristics were reported for this paper. Zone 1 is a typical dwelling area in the settlement and located at the entryway into the settlement from the main road, Priya Sisowat Key. This zone represents a generic dwelling area in the settlement, and the measured human activities can be null hypothesis for the comparison. Zone 5 in is deep inside the settlement where boiled egg embryos vendors is in the middle of the laneway. In this case study, TOS refers to people changing the state of a public space temporarily for private activities. There are 5 systematic steps demonstrated in measuring 2 zones and will be further explained via data in Zone 1. First is in Zone 1. Step 1 is to record observations in time-lapse photos with a consistent angle and interval of time in the day. The output expected is a series of organized photos in sequence to the time interval of every 30 minutes from 7 until 10 set during fieldwork. As you can see in figure A and B, the dwellers are seen carrying out daily domestic activities and chat to each other across the laneways without care for passers-by. Step 2 is to map the documented observation from time-lapse photos in figure 2C. First is to set a consistent 2D plan view map on the area of activities in the focal zone. Standardized variable codes, which are the number of people and area of TOS. Set a standard color code for the categories of different activities. In TOMDA, there are 2 dominant activities, domestic in pink and commercial in cyan. Next, set the icon for people to be in dots with color codes to different types of people. The expected output is a series of maps similar to time-lapse photos. In Zone 1, TOS domestic in pink color occupied the entire laneway briefly from 7:30 to 6:30 to 8:30. A smaller patch of area occupied at 9:30. It moves to a single-sided at 11:30 to 12 and again at 3. Then expanded to the entire laneway at 4 to 6:30, but then retracted to the small single-sided area at 7 until 9:30. Data abstracted from figure 2C are recorded in table 1 in the next slide. Step 4 is the spatial intensity map in figure 2D, which is to analyze the location of activities by collapsing all maps into one with a transparency rate of 30% each. The expected output is a single map with the different tones that illustrate the amplitude of intensity for visual pattern analysis in step 4. The deep magenta represents the highest area being occupied in the day and demarcated in the yellow dashed line box, which is consistent with the observation done in photo 2A and 2B. Step 3, measurement of human activities in table 1, which is in two-way table with rows of time intervals with columns of TOS, temporal occupied spaces area, number of people, intensity calculation, and frequency calculation. The end of the row are mean and median calculations with standard deviation and variance. They are occupied for domestic activities is in pink, and the data is visualized in step 4. Step 4, altogether, there are 5 charts that visualizes the statistical analysis. The first 2 donut charts identify the predominant type of people on the TOS area. Figure 3B, 72.31 dweller female indicated in red predominantly occupied TOS area with 100% domestic activities in pink, figure 3A. In 3C, the circular histogram chart of intensity value per 30 minutes from 7 until 10 to identify the pattern of intensity throughout a day. The graph shows that the area is active from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. at night. In zone 1, the active period of intensity is 3 until 9:30. Figure 3D is a time series plot of frequency on TOS area in a day, is to identify the correlational pattern between frequencies and the TOS area occupied in a day. Figure 3E is a combination chart of stacked vertical columns to the time intervals of different types of people and objects, with a hatched line chart of TOS area behind. This visualizes the dynamic of number of people and objects on to the TOS area throughout a day. In zone 1, the frequency pattern in figure 3D and intensity pattern figure 3E are almost the same as the active TOS domestic area. The 5th step is the result, which is to interpret the human intensity and frequency calculations in the zone. Table 2 tabulates the total mean and median of intensity values per 30 minutes of 0.54 and 56 with a standard deviation of 0.25 and variance of 0.06. The total mean and median of frequency values per minute are 0.02 with a standard deviation of 0.01 and variance of 0. This means the amplitude of activities in the day is moderate. Now is the zone 5. Step 1 is the recorded time-lapse photos in figure 2A, 4A. where the vendors are seen cooking a local delicacy of boiled egg banh-bro, and the laneway is their kitchen. Throughout the day, various mobile vendors and bicycles came to take the eggs and sell elsewhere. Some local passed by, but none of the neighbors conduct daily chores nearby. Step 2 is the mapping of documented observation of time-lapse photos in Figure 4C. TOI's commercial in cyan color occupy over the laneway from 7:30 until 11:30 and peaks at 8:30 to 9 with many passes. The TOS area retracted closer to the vendor's home at 12 until 7:30 without any major cooking. A vendor continued selling to locals who passed by until 8. Data abstracted from 4C are recorded in Table 2. Step 4 is the spatial intensity analysis of Figure 4D and statistical analysis in Figure 5. Again, the highest intensity is an area abuts built form as indicated in the yellow box. The measurement, Step 3 is the measurement of the human activities in Table 3. The TOS commercial area measurements are in cyan colored columns and are visualized in the next slides. As a result, the Figure 5B, 30.58 of vendors predominantly occupy 100% of TOS commercial area in Figure 5A. The active intensity period is distributed throughout the day, but peaks at 1:30, followed by 9, 3:30, 3 and 6:30 as shown in Figure 5.6. The frequency pattern of 5D and anticipating to 5E opposed to the period of active TOS area. Table 2 tabulates the total mean and median of intensity value of 30 minutes of 0.4 to 0.38 and a standard deviation of 0.31 and variance of 0.1. The total mean and median of frequency values per minutes are 0.1 and 0.1 with a standard deviation of 0.31 and variance of 0. This means Zone 5 is busy with high volume passes or visitors engaging with a vendor. His business is attracting people to that zone. Once I compare the result between Zone 1 and Zone 5, the intensity value of domestic activities in Zone 1 is higher than commercial activities in Zone 5, but with a lower standard deviation and variance value. This means dwellers regularly use the area in Zone 1 with a little changes throughout the day. Opposite to that is the frequency of commercial activities in Zone 5 is higher than Zone 1, which means the vendors actively use the area and alter their commercial activities throughout the day, with many people coming in and out, but none stays for long. The location of the highest spatial intensity in both zones abuts a built form, either for domestic or commercial activities. As a whole, the results from testing these novel equations in the experiment are consistent to expectations. The equation tested in TOMDA were able to measure and produce consistent intensity and frequency values on the different activities on two zones. The precision of the measurement is data dependent. Also allow for the flexibility to customize to different variables can improve the precision of one individual specific activities at a specific time interval, also collecting more precise data using human tracking sensors with machine learning in shorter time intervals and measure in volumetric space. As discussed about Jacob's studies of public-private interfaces, these novel equations enable measurable quantitative indicator of human activities to extend the theoretical discussions with statistical evidence. Also, more extensive studies about designing to unpredictable and unknown changing human behavior by engaging interdisciplinary approach for human geography, psychology, computer science, etc. Table 2 computes and compares the data set between Zone 1 and 2, and Figure 6 plots this dynamic data against static population density measurements at macro level. Evidently, these equations are able to capture the real-time density of human activities. Higher precision can be attained with more samples and data from multiple days. In conclusion, the equations of intensity and frequencies can be generalized to measure human activities in any places, either in the interior of buildings or outdoor places. These measurements offer insights into human behavior that can be studied by interdisciplinary approaches. Finally, further development on these equations into quantitative indicators of real-time densities will improve the precision of current static density measurements for urban environment. Thank you.